What if the person you think you are is just a fraction of who you truly are? What if years of conditioning and surviving in a challenging world have left you clinging to strategies and beliefs that mask your truest nature? I'm Catherine Duca, psychotherapist and self-esteem coach, and you're listening to Who Do You Think You Are? A show that looks beneath our psychological masks and uncovers our profoundly messy, beautiful, brilliant, tender-hearted selves. Join me as we go in search of the hidden power of our true selves. I'm so glad you're here.
And you know I am so glad to be here. Welcome. Welcome to Who Do You Think You Are? A podcast dedicated to you and your well-being. Here we talk about how you can have the highest regard for yourself, how you can live from a place of genuine self-respect and self-love, and how you can make yourself a priority in your own life. Meet me here each week for curated tips and strategies designed to help you drop your psychological masks, connect with your truest essence, and simply live life more easily. Why? Well, because we know that when we approach life in this way, we naturally and effortlessly and more organically have more room, more generosity, and more love for one another. And I know I say this each and every week, but when is it truer than tonight? What the world needs now. What the world needs now. Just a reminder, we, of course, are live. And those of you who have access to the chat, I invite you to interact with me. And I just want to say, if you are going through something, if you are really struggling with the events going on in the country and in the world, which we are going to talk about tonight, or if you have something in your personal life that is really, really weighing on you and you're having trouble shaking it or working it through, don't go it alone. Don't go it alone. By all means, call someone, let someone accompany you, let someone, work with you, talk it through. You can feel better. You are not alone. So please, if you need help with a referral, drop me a line. Simply email me at Catherine@catherineduca.com. That's Catherine@catherineduca.com. It's right on the screen. Email me. Let me know that you need some help with a referral or some support, and it would be my pleasure to help you out and support you in that way. Also, we have to keep the algorithm happy. So if you have been following along and you have enjoyed or found value in the content here, please like, share, subscribe to this channel. That keeps the algorithm happy. And when the algorithm is happy and content, it allows more people to have access to the show. You all know how that goes. So like, share, and subscribe. Much, much appreciated. I want to welcome people to the chat. Tony, good evening to you. Glad you're here. Well. America has gone and done it again. This country has found a way to break its own heart yet again. The events of this past week and the week before that really have many of us reeling. We're feeling all kinds of things. And I've been hearing things from my clients and people in my personal life. And I too am grappling with some of the emotions that are coming up for me. I do a couple of things to try to stay above water, to keep my mental health intact, and I'll share those things with you along the way tonight. But what can I say that hasn't already been said in terms of the adjectives that are used by so many people to describe the way this period of time seems to feel for so many of us? So tonight, I want this to be a place, a space, a container for you if you need to park your emotions someplace. If you need to put your feelings into words and let someone know how you feel, I invite you to do that tonight. We are not going to discuss the particulars of the politics. Um, I mean, if I touch on things, it'll be in the most general way because the show is not about that, but rather, especially tonight, I want to talk about and air out the emotions that so many of us are carrying. I'm going to share a couple of words that some of my clients, and again, people in my personal life, have used to uh, convey how they are feeling and how they're experiencing what's happening. I'm hearing the word despondent a lot. People are feeling hopeless and defeated, despairing. They're feeling a sense of desperation, grief stricken. So many people are feeling overwhelmed by the notion that the country that they've known all their lives is changing, and they feel not for the better. Some feel that our democracy is in jeopardy. Some feel we are losing our democracy. So there is profound grief and a sense of mourning over that. Some people feel outraged, positively outraged, and they're not sure what to do about it. Other people are feeling indignant and resentful, and like there is a double, triple, quadruple standard in this country. And they're feeling as though the things they hold dear are on the short end. Of course, angry. Some people are feeling depleted and, in a sense, hostile, disheartened, discouraged, losing their joy of living, losing their motivation. And I can't tell you how many times I've heard this word this week, a feeling of betrayal, feeling deceived or let down by others. And so I invite any of you, again, if you have access to the chat, if you are listening live. Some people have told me they watch on television, on their smart televisions, and they don't have access to the chat. So that's why I say that. But if you do, and if you would like to share how you are feeling, again, we're not going to get into political discourse or, political stances. Because I actually think people on both ends of the political spectrum are feeling some of the ways in which I've mentioned. So tonight, for this time until 10 o'clock or thereabouts, I hope to just offer this show as a container and an invitation for you. I don't mind saying that in advance of this show, I had to do some pretty intense work on myself. I was feeling, um, and it's not gone by any means, but it has come down a bit. I have been feeling very, very, very agitated and worried, and a sense of anxiety that I really haven't recognized in myself. Sure, I get anxious about this and that from time to time, but this anxiety for me has come with some kind of pall. You know what I mean? A pall, a heaviness, a weight, a cloud that doesn't feel all that temporary. It doesn't feel like it's a matter of this too shall pass, although it may. None of us knows what's going to happen. We don't know if the way things are going to continue and get stronger and escalate and really be the new way of living in our country. We don't know. We don't know if in a few years things are going to be different, turn around. We really don't know. But the one thing that we do know is how we're feeling in our bodies, how we're feeling in our bodies. You know, I say so often, and I wrote this in my book, and if you'll indulge me, I'd like to read a line from my book. It's about, this is a very often used word these days, self-regulation. Regulate your emotions. What does that mean? That means do some kind of practice where you can bring the anxiety that sits in your body, that you can bring that down. Why is that important? Well, it's not just important, it's crucial. It's crucial that we regulate ourselves, that we calm our nervous system down. Why is that important? It's important, A, because this feeling of heightened anxiety, I know when I experienced it, it was really hard to tolerate. And people have told me this week that they've used that word too. It's intolerable. Kathy, what I feel in my body is intolerable. What I feel when I wake up in the morning at 2 or 3 or 4 in the morning and I can't shut off my thoughts, that feels intolerable. And I don't know what to do. I get up, I eat, I take something. Some people smoke something. They do something to calm the feeling in the body. Well, so the priority there is to help ourselves to feel better in our own skin, to feel better. Okay. I think it's safe to say that while there are moments of joy, of course, babies are born. There's a baby being born right this second. People are getting married. Wonderful things are happening to people. People are connecting. There are wonderful things. But I think when it comes to navigating this political climate, I think we can't, I don't know. I'll speak for myself. I don't expect myself to feel wonderful. What I do expect myself to do is be responsible for my own nervous system and responsible for regulating. You see, if we look to outside factors or influences or panaceas, that's not really going to do it. And if it does, in the most temporary way. So we have to work with ourselves. In addition to that, we can't think straight, right? Everybody knows this. We can't think straight when we are hyper aroused, when our amygdalas, the smoke detector, if you will, the alarm center of our brain, when it's, blaring because we're frightened, we're worried, we are anticipating something, something foreboding. Well, we can't think straight. We're overwhelmed. Some people even get a sense of hysterics. They're freaked out. Their nervous system is like almost literally short circuiting. So our prefrontal cortex, so interesting. We're not just having a bad day. We're not just in a bad mood. We're not just down. There's a whole thing that goes on with our brains and our bodies. The prefrontal part of our brain, that's the region that is responsible for executive reasoning and organizing our thoughts. That part literally gets, the word is flooded. It goes offline, if you will, and we can't think straight. So, in my book, I write this line, to bring a sense of peace to our planet is to first find it within ourselves. Avoidant, passive, superficial, histrionic, self-absorbed, detached, foggy minds will do little to bring comfort or clarity to anyone. All of those side effects of being dysregulated do not bring comfort or clarity to anyone, and we can't think straight. and that serves no one. So I think one of the first orders of business when we feel this way is to do what we can do to calm ourselves down. And that involves some mind body practices. I'll share one in a couple of minutes with you. It's called tap and breathe. Tap and breathe. The other, of course, is to commune with people, to talk to someone whom you trust about how you're feeling. Now, the idea, of course, when you do that, you start commiserating. But the idea there is to join with someone so that you're not alone, so that you're not carrying these things alone. What we witnessed on television this past week was so abhorrent on so many levels. I mean, it almost defies description. And I don't know. I mean, John F. Kennedy. My goodness, I was a child, as perhaps many of you were. And although there was the what was that? The Zapruder. Am I pronouncing his name correctly? The Zapruder film that showed, frame by frame when Kennedy was shot. This was not his assassination. His murder was not captured and aired 24/7 on a loop. But we witnessed someone murdered right in front of our own eyes. He was killed in front of his family, his wife and his children, who must be traumatized beyond what most of us can imagine. And the people in the audience, likewise, traumatized. And, those of us who saw it on our screens or I should say, just heard about it and imagine what took place, have some kind of secondary or vicarious trauma. So we are, as a nation, collectively reeling from that. And then that gives way to the whole, the other thing about, how he said things about people and he said things about carrying guns and the Second Amendment and so forth. So there is a rippling out. One issue begets another issue, begets another issue. The mental image that comes to my mind is, those dolls, I think they're known as Russian dolls or Matryoshka dolls. Again, if I'm pronouncing that correctly. I'm giving myself names to pronounce tonight. I don't know why, but those dolls, you open up, it's like there's a doll inside a doll inside a doll. So you open the doll and there's another doll. You open that up and there's yet another doll. And just when you're sure that you're down to the last doll, well, what do you think happens? There's an itsy bitsy doll tucked in there. That's how I think our political landscape is now. And in fact, our global landscape. It's one issue inside of another in which there are other issues contained within that one. And those issues have spin-off issues. And so we are carrying so much. And here's a word that's so overused, but it's so true. Unprecedented. Unprecedented. So suffice it to say, we are all in uncharted waters right now. And I came across a term the other day that I found so interesting. I'd never heard it before. But I'd like to know what you think about this. I think the reason so many of us are feeling these deep, profound emotions, and I went down the list of some of them, is because what many people are experiencing is something called a moral injury. I think this really, really captures it. A moral injury. A moral injury, I'll read the definition, is a lasting psychological, spiritual, behavioral, or social impact that can result from witnessing, failing to prevent, or engaging in acts that violates one's moral beliefs or values. I'm going to read that again. A moral injury is a lasting psychological, spiritual, behavioral, or social impact that can result from witnessing the Kirk shooting, failing to prevent the atrocities going on in the world, or engaging in acts that violate one's moral beliefs or values. That can extend to issues of abortion or reproductive rights or deportation or climate change or gun control. I'm probably leaving out half of them. It's a trauma syndrome that can include psychological, existential, interpersonal, and behavioral issues. While most research has focused on military veterans, moral injury can occur outside of the military context, and I believe it is. As my research went on, this was a term coined among military veterans who went to war, and they were, in a position to kill people when it was completely and utterly abhorrent to them. It contradicted their moral platform. And so perhaps this is what you are experiencing. So this isn't just agree to disagree. This isn't just let's have more civilized discourse, which of course we should. We should strive for that. But what's occurring and what we're feeling in our minds, our bodies, is much more profound than that. It's that we are witnesses, absolutely firsthand witnesses to killings, to starvation, to bombings, to seeing natural disasters, to seeing, the East Coast warm up and the West Coast have ice storms. Things are backwards. Things are upside down. And we are witnessing it. We can't prevent it. And we feel as though we are failing ourselves and one another. And so I submit to you, if you're feeling really badly, if you're feeling really bereft and lost, I submit it's because you might be feeling this sense of moral injury. Right? Well, that was a mouthful, wasn't it? That was a mouthful. So I'm going to turn to the chat. I see there are a number of people here, and let me go now and let's see. You can probably see what one another are expressing more easily than I can here. So, Tony, I'm going to see if I can go in order. Again, welcome. My urgency tank is running low, and I pray it refills and overflows with hope and expectancy. My urgency tank is running low, and I pray it refills and overflows with hope and expectancy. Yeah. Tony, I think one of the words I used before was depleted. There is a sense of, I've got nothing. I mean, and I've heard that very language from people. I've got nothing in my tank. It's hard to have goodwill when I feel like my emotional, spiritual, psychological tank is on E. So I hear you, Tony, and I appreciate you, and I thank you for expressing yourself here. Judy, welcome. That's a good analogy, Catherine. Which one? But thank you. Thank you. Always good to see you. Janine, there is a dysregulation in our culture, more pervasive than at any time in most of our lifetimes. Yes. So we dysregulate too. Either that or sometimes we just dissociate. Understandable, but unsustainable. Well, that's the point. That's the point. Being dysregulated is our body going into fight, flight, freeze, appease. That's a natural state when we feel as though we're under threat, right? Um, and that whole thing, I mean, we all know this by now. The fight, flight, freeze, appease syndrome is our response, our physiological response to danger and threat. And it's meant to mobilize and catalyze us into action until such time as the threat diminishes or disappears or abates, and then our bodies return to homeostasis, to a natural state. But what we see is 24/7, lately, every day, 365, the spigot, if you will, in our brain that releases cortisol and all the stress hormones, that spigot is like stuck in the on position. And if we just live our lives, at least this is my whole thing, if we just live our lives at the effect of that, hoping tomorrow gets, of course, we all hope tomorrow gets better. But if that's all we do, and we bury our heads in the sand or, eat, drink, smoke, shop, spend over what we feel, we get up tomorrow, Groundhog Day, we feel it's, and the same thing over again. We are at the effect of what's happening. We're the tail being wagged by the dog. And I think, Janine, I think you're hinting at, when you say understandable but unsustainable, I couldn't agree more, what each of us needs to do for our own health, for the health and well-being of those we love, those we care for, and the health and well-being of our country and our world, which amounts to, when we step outside each day and we interact with people, that's our world. That's our world. As I said last week, none of us here, I don't know, if there are exceptions, please raise your hand, hold any political office. None of us have a huge platform here. None of us have a lot of pull or sway in the world on a grand scale. Therefore, we just have our one life, our one sliver of this thing called Earth, this country, America, one sliver. And so when I'm sitting in traffic, or when I go to the store, or when I interact with a salesperson, or I just interact with anyone, am I meeting them with, as I said before, an avoidant, passive, histrionic, self-absorbed, superficial mindset? Am I hysterical? Am I just so filled with anger and rage that I spew hostility to the person next to me at CVS? I let some innocent person have it because I'm up to here. Again, who could blame anyone for feeling that way, Janine? Understandable, but unfair and unsustainable. Therefore, regulation, self-regulation is the thing. Thank you, Janine. Appreciate that. Back to you, Judy. We're feeling helpless against the onslaught of hurtful and negative behaviors. Yeah, that's the word. We're feeling helpless. Helpless. So I think there is the what can I do? I think there are two what can I do's. This is how I conceptualize it, at least. There's the lowercase, what can I do? Meaning, what can I do with my own life, right? As I said. And then there's the what can I do on the grand scale, on the political level? Well, I can vote. I can attend rallies. I can show up at marches. I can lend my voice. I can lend my presence. I can be one more person standing there when they take a count. I can be part of a massive movement. That's what I can do. I cannot, God, I wish I could, but I cannot fly into Gaza and take those children into my arms and into my life. And I cannot hold those mothers, and I cannot comfort those fathers. I see them and they're fighting for a bowl of something to eat. I can't do that. I can't stop the shooter. But what I can do is take what I feel about it, and I can try to get hold of myself. I can try to get hold of myself. I can try to regulate myself. That's what I can do, so that when I go out, I'm not one more contribution to the problem. I use my life to offset. I use my life to bring a bit of light. Not, I almost said Pollyanna, but Pollyanna's not such a bad. She wasn't so bad, but I'll use that anyway. Not in a hallmarky kind of way, but in a, I'm not going to let what's happening change my heart, because if I change my heart, that I try to keep open, then I have two problems. I have two problems. I'm helpless, as Judy says, and now I'm bitter. I have two problems. There's virtually no daylight. So I have to take the aerial view with myself, go up into my higher consciousness and get hold of myself, ground myself, center myself, do what I can do to keep myself intact. Because if I become hysterical, if I'm vibrating in a way, not in a positive way, but if I'm vibrating with a sense of histrionics, I'm like that live wire, that comes loose from the telephone pole. And now I'm sputtering and sparking on the sidewalk, right? Everyone has to stay away from me. I'm a live wire. I could be lethal if you touch me. And too many of us are walking around like that. So thank you, Judy. Thank you for saying that. Dawn, community is so important at this time. We need to lean on one another and share our grief, but also, dare I say, share our joys. Yes, because as antithetical as it sounds, our joy is what nurtures and fills us. That's right. So, Tony, back to you. Your tank is running low and you pray that it refills. Well, I think Dawn has a clue for all of us. Count the joys. Count the joys. I had a mentor say to me one time, when you're feeling empty and there is forget about abundance, you're feeling empty, depleted, emotionally, psychologically, bone on bone, she would say, go out and count the leaves on the trees. When I first heard that, I said, what? But then I did it because I didn't know what else to do at one point. I went out and I looked at all the leaves on the trees and the blades of grass, and I thought about the grains of sand, and I thought about all the things that, are generative, all the things that regenerate, all the things that come to life, the babies that are born, the innocence that still exists in the world. I look to wherever I can to find joy, and I try to embrace it and lean into it. So that what's happening that I can't control, so that doesn't harden my heart. Because if my heart hardens, I feel within myself, then I'm a goner. I am really a goner. I'm no use to anyone, myself or anyone I come in contact with, do no harm. And if my heart is callous, then I think I do bring harm in my own way in terms of the energy I carry. So thank you, everyone. I think your comments are a microcosm of what the collective is experiencing. So with that, I'm going to suggest we take a short break. Not suggest, I'm going to ask my producer, Reverend Michael Mangus, to take us to a short break. We'll catch our breath. When we come back, I'm going to talk about breath and how we can use it to calm ourselves down and open ourselves up to begin to look for things all around us that can start to fill our tank, drop by drop. You're listening to Who Do You Think You Are? I'm Catherine Duca, psychotherapist and co-host, psychotherapist and self-esteem coach. You all are my co-host. Got a little tongue-tied there. Thanks for being with me. And welcome back. Before we went to break, I referred to myself mistakenly as a co-host, and then I said, you all are my co-host out there, and I mean it. One of the things I love about spending this time with you is I feel as though we co-create this show. Those of you who, share your contributions, your thoughts, your questions in the chat, allow me to kind of take the show off script and make it something organic. So in a very literal sense, you all are my co-hosts, and I thank you for that. So those of us who, like Tony, feel as though our tank is on E and we're looking for something to replenish it, I want to talk about a technique that any of us can use at any time. It doesn't cost anything, and it is as close to you as your own breath. There are many good mind-body techniques out there. One of the ones that I love and I use quite often on myself and with my clients is called tapping, also known as EFT, emotional freedom techniques. And you can look this up. There's so much on the internet, emotional freedom techniques. It is a mind-body tool that you use on yourself, and it really can help you self-regulate. Now, as with most techniques, you can take it, there's kind of an advanced version, but then there's a very simple kind of core version, and that's what I'd like to offer you tonight. So this technique is very simple, and it's called tap and breathe. Tap and breathe. Now, this technique of tapping brings together the principles of acupuncture, where those of you who've had acupuncture, or if you're familiar, it works with meridians in the body, and the acupuncturist inserts a needle into certain specific stress points to redistribute and rebalance what the Chinese believe is responsible for when we feel badly. Our energy is congested. So the needles break up the congestion of this energy, according to ancient Chinese medicine. So tapping, and I'm really rushing through this, but tapping marries the principles of Chinese acupuncture with cognitive psychology. Okay, what we're going to do is tap and breathe. So some of you might be walking your dog right now. Some of you might be driving. Some of you might be drifting off to sleep. Some of you might be, doing the dishes, whatever. So you may not be able to do this right now, but I invite you to replay this video, or at least this particular part, and tap and breathe along with me and see how you feel. I did this this morning, in fact, when I started to get worked up over things, knowing I was coming on to be with you. And I had to bring myself down. And this is how I did it. So I'd like you to visualize there is a small flame in the center of your chest. A small flame in the center of your chest. Just, if you can, close your eyes, visualize that small flame. And I'm going to ask you to simply breathe in and breathe out, making a little noise, breathing in as though you are breathing through a straw. So make that little, that little noise, and make noise on the exhale. That does something. And as you're doing that, I would like you to if you're able to look at me, I would like you to tap on certain parts of your body. Okay? This is called tap and breathe. And with each inhalation, I would like you to imagine you're bringing oxygen to that tiny flame in the center of your chest. And with each breath and the oxygen coming to that little flame, envision the flame growing bigger and brighter within you until by the end of this practice, your entire being, mental being, is flooded with this flame. This is a flame of hope, a flame of conviction, a flame of love. And then visualize this flame as it grows bigger and stronger. Visualize it radiating outward and gently meeting up with whomever is right in front of you. Not to burn them, of course, but to impart some light. Okay? So, with that, I'm going to close my eyes and touch the top of your head. Touch the top of your head and breathe in as though you're breathing through a straw. Go to the inner eyebrow, same thing. Breathe in, picturing that flame, bringing oxygen to it. Breathe in all the way as far as you can without straining. Breathe out. Outer eye, same thing. Picturing the flame, it's growing a little bigger. It's now expanding. Perhaps it's filling your whole chest cavity. Breathe in with me and breathe out. Oxygen to the flame within. Now, if your mind wanders, oh, this is stupid, oh, this is silly, that's okay. Come back to breath. Breathe in. Now do under the eye, right? Bring your finger to under the eye. Same thing. If your mind wanders, oh yeah, but those kids, those children in Gaza, they're starving, they're screaming, they're hungry. I can't do anything. That's right. That's understandable. Come back to breath. Move your fingers to under your nose. Same thing. These are stress relief points in the body. The Chinese have known for centuries that putting pressure here dislodges clogged energy and brings a sense of balance. Breathe in. Breathe out. Chin point. Chin point. Breathe in. Yeah, but what's going to happen? Democracy. Oh my God, we're losing it. We're never going to vote again. This guy, Charlie, what did he unleash? Oh my God, that's right. That's right. You can have that thought. Don't try to stop it. Just redirect your thoughts back to your breath, back to that flame within. Perhaps by now it's expanded and your whole torso is now filled with this flame of love and warmth and compassion and light. Collarbone, same thing. Do it with me. Do it with me. Breathe in as far as you can and breathe out. Okay. Okay. And one more. Touch your opposite wrist. Touch your opposite wrist where you would take your pulse. And imagine that flame is now expanding, filling your whole being, capable of extending outward. Because when we say be the peace you want to see, we don't say be the hysterical person you want to see. We don't say be the anxious person, be the sputtering live wire. We say be the peaceful, intact container for these difficult, painful feelings. Knowing that there's joy all around, knowing that, you know, the waves of the ocean continue to break on the shoreline, all the things that represent life, that are life. And so this exercise, tap and breathe, is available to you anytime you need it. 2 in the morning, 4 in the morning. I just see Michelle V has joined us. Hi, Michelle. You're saying my survival tactic of late. Yeah. Yeah. It's become mine also. Right? It's become mine also. Yes, Tony, I see your comment. Yeah, you're talking about the inequity. The inequity. I know what you mean. I know what you mean. Although I love Charlie, I get physically ill watching or thinking about the young Ukrainian girl who was slaughtered for no reason or cause. She gets overlooked somewhat. Yeah. So these are all the things, Tony. Yes, I think about her too. These are the things that fill our mind and rob us. So it's not even that our tank is empty. It's empty of joy until we go in and try to restore it. And it's full of pain and despondency and disappointment and worry and fear. Some of each, some of some and more of the others. You know, we don't all feel the same thing to the same degree, but we're in there. And so this is what I do for myself. And it's what I did today before I came on to speak with you. Because if I got on 2 hours ago, I don't know. I wouldn't be the exact person I am right now. And I think I prefer being this way with you because I'm open to you. I'm more available to you. I'm more centered in my chair. I have my wits about me. And that just simply feels better. So, dear listeners, wide receivers, friends, I offer this to you in the hopes that you take it with you during your week. And if you waffle, if you waver, know that you have this place and this technique to come back to. I hope you use it. It's become my survival tactic too. Keeping ourselves well, keeping ourselves grounded is what we need to do, says Michelle. Staying positive and powerful is our strength to standing up to the chaos around us. That's how we move forward. That's how we begin to refill our tank. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. You are not only loved, you are love. Be well. My heart is with you. Until next time, you're listening to Who Do You Think You Are? Catherine Duca saying, I love you all. Good night.